What's going on YouTube and Diablo 2 Resurrected fans? It's Lanfear here, and we are bringing you another build guide for Diablo 2 Resurrected. Today we are going to be looking at the Wind Druid, also known as a Tornado Druid or a Hurricane Druid or an Elemental Druid as well. There are many different names for this build and this character. So to start off, this isn't a beginner build or a starting build for a druid, so you wouldn't start this from level 1 onwards. You'd spec into this at level 30 or so, but that being said, it's also not an end game build, so you can do this once you are at the right level, which is roughly around level 30 or so. So if we just start out here by looking at the stats that you will invest into this character, basically you are just going to be putting in enough strength for your gear. I'm a little bit over strength here because I'm using a Mage Plate Enigma right now, where I used to be using an Archon Plate. That's why my strength's so high. You don't put any points into dexterity, there's none needed here whatsoever, and you put all the rest of your points into vitality with nothing going into energy. So that's your basic max vite build that a lot of soft core characters will be using here. So that's strength for gear, everything else into vitality. So now, with that being said, we can have a look here at the gear that I'm running. Or, actually, just before we get into the gear, I think we need to look at the skills that we are using here as this Wind Druid. So, shape shifting skills, we don't put any skills in here. There's nothing of any sort of use or benefit for the character here. It's an elemental druid, nothing to do with shape shifting. So looking at the elemental tree being an elemental druid, we are not putting any of skills into the fire skills. You can do this whilst leveling up to get to around about level 30, but up until that point you can use the fire tree and then respec, but you won't be using this tree until later on. So Arctic Blast, you just put 1 point as a prerequisite, and then you'll max out Cyclone Armor, max out Twister, max out Tornado, and max out Hurricane. So Cyclone Armor is great at absorbing fire, cold, and lightning damage. It's a fantastic defensive skill against the elements. Then Twister is just a synergy for your Tornado and your Hurricane. Your Tornado will be your main source of damage, with your Hurricane is it it's just it's a supplementary source of damage and slight cold crowd control with adding that cold effect to monsters. So you cast that once and you just let that add its extra damage over time to whatever else you're doing. So your main attack will be your Tornado, then Hurricane is adding your supplementary damage to that. You can see the synergies there are Cyclone Armor, Twister, and Tornado, and your synergies for Tornado are Cyclone Armor, Twister, and Hurricane. Then where you will put the rest of your skill points, that will be in the summoning skill tree. So you will put 1 into Raven, 1 into Summon Spirit Wolf, 1 into Summon Dire Wolf, or before that first 1 into Oak Sage to get to that, and then 1 into Summon Grizzly. So it's just 1 point into each of these down the middle, and then the rest of your points you're putting into Oak Sage to give you that extra life. So that will be a big buff to your life pool, and it will also be a big buff to your other summons and your mercenary as well. So that's one of the key elements that makes this quite a tough caster in comparison to, let's say, a Necromancer or Sorceress or something like that. This Oak Sage makes you a lot tougher than a lot of the other casters. So if you look here, I'm level 92 at the moment, and that gives me enough points to max out everything I need in the elemental tree, so that's 20, 20, 20, 20, 80 in total. Then the rest of those would go one into each of these, and the rest into Oak Sage to get that as high as possible. If you end up getting to level 99, you can put some extra points into Summon Grizzly, or even into Summon Direwolf, which will give your Summon Grizzly more health, so more survivability for your meat tank or your meat shield, which that Summon Grizzly is. So that is how you will build in relation to your skills with this character. And no fire skills at all, no shape-shifting skills. That is what you do. This is widely considered to be the most powerful druid build, definitely as a caster, and it's just overall a great build. So if we have a look now at the gear for this character, the gear, you are playing a caster, so what will come into effect here is plus skills and faster cast rate. That's what you're looking for mainly. And as you can see here, my resistances are basically all fully capped except for cold res, which is the least important one. And because you have that skill, Cyclone Armor, you don't actually need capped resistances with this character, because as you can see there, it absorbs 2.5k elemental damage, which is a huge amount of damage to absorb. So you don't actually need to max your resistances. I think it's cool because it looks good on paper and it just makes you super tough. It's not necessary though. You could add more MF to your build, more Magic Vine, something like that, instead of capping your resistances. I, for this build, go for a balanced approach between damage, survivability, and Magic Find, because I think that's this character's strength, is that balance between those three attributes, and it does so very well, being good at Magic Find, being very tough, and having a high damage output. So we have capped resistances, and we have a good health pool as well. But like I said, you can have more Magic Find instead of having those capped resistances. So if you have a look here, we are 260 basically Magic Find with this character. You can go higher, like I said, but I find this to be the sweet spot. In terms of cast rate, you want to hit 99% faster cast rate to hit that frame rate with this character. You can go to 163, but then you're going to be sacrificing in a lot of other areas, and that would be a pure damage build approach if you go for 163 faster cast rate. So being at 99, I'm at 105. That is the sweet spot that you're looking for. And then faster hit recovery, you need 63% to get to the frames that you would like with this character, that I think is comfortable. I'm at 72, but 63 is where the breakpoint is for that frame rate that you want to be at. So the important things here are your Magic Find, getting that 63 faster hit recovery breakpoint, and then getting that 100, or not 105, that 99% faster cast rate for that. So how the gear comes into play to getting us there. For your main hand weapon, the best weapon in slot here is your Heart of the Oak Runeword, and I did it in an ethereal flail just to get that style points going on. You can see that ghostly ethereal flail there, and Heart of the Oak, it gives you resistances, it gives you the cast rate you need, and those important skills that you need, the plus to skills. Mine rolled a 38, which is between 30 and 40 for how Heart of the Oak rolls, so that's quite a nice roll. I was very happy with that. Yeah, so that's your best in slot main hand. Basically, you want to find anything, if you can't get a Heart of the Oak, that gives you lots of plus skills and cast rate. So a Spirit, Crystal Sword or something would also be good there if you can't afford a Heart of the Oak, but that is what you are aiming for there. Then for shield, we have a Spirit Monarch. This is a 35% faster cast rate. It's not needed to have the perfect faster cast rate for the shield, but I rolled that and I'm happy with that, so that is what I'm using. It also has the important plus the skills, the resist, and Vitan mana. It's just all round best in slot shield for this build. Spirit is one of those rune words that, it's just so good, nothing else compares when you're a caster. So that's basically your only option with what you're using there. Um, if you have a look now at the Amulet, I'm using Amari's Kaleidoscope. Again, for the plus skills, that's most important. It also gives you the all-res for survivability, and the attributes is a nice addition there as well. You could also use, for instance, a faster cast rate Druid Skills Amulet if you have one of those, or if you find one of those. Anything with the plus skills and nice other mods is useful. If you have faster cast rate there, you might not need a faster cast rate ring, or gloves like Trangools or something like that. So that's a slot that is open to whatever you have and however you build your character. But this is what I find to be best in slot for this balance build of toughness, magic find, and your damage. So Marius is your best in slot there. Then, very important for this build is Enigma Ruin Word as your body armor, your chest piece. So that gives you teleport, which is important for this build because you're using the tactic called telestomping, which is teleporting onto your enemy so that your merc's there and you can cast your attacks right on top of them. So if you don't have Enigma, anything with cast rate and skills like Viper Magi, Skin of the Viper Magi, or anything with plus skills is good, but ultimately with this build, you you want Enigma, and Enigma is what you need to aim for almost as your first important item for this build, because without it, you really don't run as effectively as you should or as you want to with this character and build. So I'll show that a bit later in the gameplay how Enigma comes into play, and it gives you magic find, gives you damage reduction, gives you that strength, and the all important teleport. I mean, that is what you're going for ultimately, is that teleport skill, and Enigma is what you need for that. The faster run walk is great. Obviously, the skills is what you're going for, and the mana, 15% mana damage taken goes to mana is also great with this. So, Bolt Arachnid Mesh is best in slot here. That is what you're looking for the skill and the cast rate. Then if we look at the gloves, I went for a Chance Guards for the Magic Find. That's a 39 out of 40, so a decent roll. Again, just balancing that Magic Find and toughness and damage. I think Chance Guards work here perfectly for the balance. Then for ring choices, again, for balance of Magic Find and all the rest, I went for Nagel Ring, and this is a 30 MF, so it's the highest that can roll, and that's what I'm using in the one ring slot. And then the other one is a faster cast rate ring with some strength and some dual res as well. That's just to get me to my breakpoint. Again, you can change your gear according to what you have and how to get to that 99% faster cast rate breakpoint. But this is how I do it, by using a faster cast rate ring. And the balance between using this, an Angel Ring, and Mars, I think is good, as well as with the racks and the bolt. And then lastly, yeah, we look at the boots. Ideally, I would probably be using a War Travs or War Traveler battle boots, and those would give me slightly more MF. But these have decent MF. They've got the dual res and the faster run walk. They are a good set of boots, but I could maybe get another 25% MF if I used a War Trav, so that's another option there. Then on Switch, we have a Call to Arms and a Spirit Shield just to buff that up. So this is only a 1 to battle orders Call to Arms, but it does help boost our survivability. This is the switch that you'll have on every character that's not a barbarian, basically. So, lastly, I did say lastly for the boots, but in actual fact, the helm is the last item that we're going to talk about here. So, you could use, if you wanted more magic find, you could use a Shaco, a Harlequin Crest Shaco, and that would give you your skills and it would give you a lot of magic find. So I found a Druid Pelt, which is a Druid Helm. It's either one of these wolf style ones or one of those Sky Spirit style ones. So this one has 2 to Druid skills, which is the max you can get there. So that makes it on par with Shaco. But then it has 2 to Hurricane and 2 to Tornado as well. And that, with its life and lightning res and whatever else the other mods it has, those skills make this item type the best in slot for this type of druid. So a good druid pult, ideally you would look for 2 to druid skills and 3 to tornado as your main attack skill, and that would be your best in slot year. So this is a what you would call a 2-2-2, so it has hurricane and tornado, but you can get 2 to druid skills and 3 to tornado, and I believe also 3 to hurricane. So this I socketed with a perfect topaz just for that balance of adding some magic find there as well. So overall, this again just balances out the gear and for the build perfectly. And looking at charms, I have a Geeds for the magic find, just to tie that in. Then large charms, I have all elemental skillers to up the skills and the damage being a caster. I also have one with 12% faster hit recovery, which is quite nice. Then I have a 1310 Druid Torch. It's a very low torch, but it does the trick for adding the skills and stats and res. Then small charms, they're basically an assortment of either magic find or the resists I was missing to max what I wanted. So again, you can go more for magic find charms here and less resist. Like I said, that's no problem because you have that skill, cyclone armor. So rounding all of that off, that is how this character is set out and built. So just to get into a little bit of gameplay here, I'm just gonna do a couple random areas and runs here. What is great is that because you have cold damage from your hurricane and you have your physical damage from your tornadoes, you can run anywhere in the game basically. And as you can see there, this character is very powerful off the bat. With enough plus skills, your damage output is 5,900 tornado damage, so 6k as near and makes no difference, with 2.7k hurricane damage. And you've got your hurricane damage ticking over in the background while you are firing off your tornadoes. And being physical damage, that's very unique for a caster in Diablo to have physical damage as their casting skill, which allows you to farm almost anywhere in the game. And also having those dual elements of cold and physical, it really puts you in a unique position as a caster here in Diablo. And I think that's one of the reasons this is one of the best casters to do in the game, is because you have no problem. I mean, they're cold immunes, but you've got your physical damage to take those out. And you can see that the damage output is rather high as well. So, I mean, there, okay, Stone Skin and Cold Immune, there is less damage output being done there, but it still deals with that just quickly enough. So I just wanted to quickly touch on my mercenary here, just to give you an idea of how that ties into the rest of the build. So he is using a treachery, so that gives him the increased attack speed, and the fade, which gives him resist, which is great for a mercenary. He's also using Andariel's Visage, or Visage, for that attack speed, as well as the life stolen. And then he's using an Ethereal Reaper's Toll. So Why this is so great is that he gets a 33% chance to cast Decrypify, which will reduce the enemy's physical resistance. So if you run into physical immunes, this will often break that, and if monsters aren't physical immune, it will reduce their resistance to physical, which will make your damage output with your tornado a lot more. So this really increases your damage a lot by using a Reaper's Toll mercenary. So that's an Act 2 Nightmare mercenary with his Holy Freeze aura, which also just gives you that extra level of crowd control. So again, one of the reasons why I find this one of the greatest casters is because of that toughness. If you see here, we have 4,000 life once we have all our buffs with our Oak Sage on and our battle orders. So 4,000 life. Okay, just switch there. You can just buff up again quickly. So yeah, 4,000 life, almost 600 mana. There's not a lot of casters that are going to get that sort of life, and I mean, let's go and kill the council here quickly. They are regarded as very hard-hitting and very tough monsters here in Hull, and you can see here how your life shouldn't even really move when facing them. So yeah, you teleport into the middle of them, start casting off your tornadoes. So as you can see, this is a very safe council kill. Yes, they killed your Oak Sage, but other than that, yourself, you are in a very safe position. And one of the things just to remember when you are doing your buffs, you do want to cast your buff so that your level is up with your battle command. So that gives you the extra skill. Then once you've got that up, you want to make your summons because you have that extra skill. Then you want to recast your battle orders so that they get the extra life from that. So I'll just carry on here with a little bit more gameplay. We could do a little bit of the Chaos Sanctuary. You can farm anywhere with this character, which is great. You know, there's no sorts of immunes that you're gonna run into that are going to be any sort of a worry. So as you can see, the damage output is incredibly high. Where Enigma comes into play with this build is you want to telestomp and be right on top of your target, because as you can see here, your tornadoes go in the serpentine sort of pattern that is not the easiest to land on the enemy. So you're wanting to teleport right on top of the enemy so that your tornadoes actually hit them exactly where you want them. So your maneuverability and your mobility is what makes this skill work, because without it you're just never going to be hitting where you want to hit. So that's why Enigma is sort of essential for this character and this build, because without it you're not going to get that positioning and being on top of the enemies where you want it. So unfortunately the expensive rune word of Enigma is somewhat of a necessity with this build. You can definitely play this build without it, but you are going to suffer in terms of mobility and in terms of landing your tornado. But as we can see, this is really good damage output. Yes, we're playing on Battle.net and we're only on players 1, but you can definitely play this build on much higher player difficulty. And that 6k damage per tornado and your cast speed, it really just melts through the enemies at a fantastic rate. And I love this build because your damage output is just so good. You are so tough. You have good magic find. You can farm anywhere that you want in the game, basically. And it's just great having summons to add to that toughness as a meat shield. It's just really great. So one thing to remember is to keep on casting your Hurricane and your Cyclone armor to keep those up at all times. So that's just to make sure that you keep your survivability up and you keep your damage up as well. So I'm just going to go quickly here to the ancient tunnels just to show you another level 85 area. And just to sort of wrap things up here with the build, I started this character the minute, that's a very nice ancient tunnels position. So yeah, I basically started this character the second that I got the runes for Enigma, because like I said, Enigma is so important for this build, and I wanted a character that could farm any area in the game, and that's what the Elemental Druid or the Wind Druid provides, is just farming anywhere you like with high damage output, high MF, and just being able to do whatever you want to do. Other than Ubers, there's no area in the game that this build is going to struggle once it's geared and put together correctly. So, I mean, it's fun in many aspects because you got to keep up your Hurricane and your Cyclone armor. That's a bit of a bug getting stuck there. Having summons is awesome. Having that good mercenary with the Reaper's Toll is awesome. And you definitely feel powerful as this build. It also does great in PvP when geared correctly. So the versatility with this character is quite great as well. So yeah, just wrapping things up here and ending off. I would highly recommend this build to anyone who can afford the Enigma. Basically, it's definitely worth a try, and it looks awesome. I think, especially with that Druid Pelt, that Cyclone armor going around, the auras, the buffs, having that cool Oak Sage. It looks awesome. It performs awesomely. It does everything you need from a caster. With that 4k life, you're so much tougher than most casters. Like I said, you got great res if you spec it that way as opposed to more MF. Overall, it's definitely a highly recommended build from my side. And ultimately, I hope that this guide has been insightful for you. I hope that you learned something, and I definitely hope that you'll give this build a try. And one thing I didn't actually mention earlier in the guide, but I'll mention that now, is this exact Druid Pelt we are going to be giving away to somebody who subscribes to my channel, someone who likes this video and comments on this video. So this Eagle Shell Totemic Mask, this will be going to a lucky subscriber. So hit me up in the comments below once you've subscribed and you've liked the video, and in a week's time I will choose a winner for that. So let's see how that goes, and hopefully it could be you. So until then, I hope you have a good one, and I will be bringing out some more Diablo 2 Resurrected content. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. And until then, peace out. Cheers.